Before we begin, please note this episode contains sensitive content and discussions of sexual assault and rape that some listeners may find disturbing. Please proceed with care. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. In today's episode, it's going to be Ibrahim and I, and we're going to be processing, dissecting, first and foremost, the current reality about the situation that we're living through. We're going to unpack the episode so far. How's it been for us? And also, how's it been for you? We've got a lot of feedback, and today we're going to talk about it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm your host, Amira.
And I'm your host, Ibrahim.
And this is UTTN, the podcast. So, ahla wa sahla, Ibrahim.
Ahla wa sahla to our audience, old and new. I'm glad that we're doing this episode. I think
It's been a while, yeah?
it's been a while, and something that our audience have asked is a conversation between us. Something that's been, we did it a lot in season 1. We talked a lot about so many things, and this season we're interviewing people.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the seat of the interviewer, and we're hearing their thoughts, their perspectives, and a bit less of ours. We answer here and there when we give our perspectives and reflections, but it's not our conversation. I think some of our audience have missed it. So there it is. We're doing it today.
I feel like we've manifested it also. We had I feel like we reference a lot our conversations in the car driving to Nazareth, where I'm saying, I like to hear the guest. Ibrahim, stop interrupting the guests. And you're like, but Amira, our guests, our audience, they want to hear us. They want to hear our opinion. It's not just about the guest. It needs to be a dynamic conversation. And both are true.
Yeah.
So we've manifested this conversation, and I think we're ready for it. And it is well needed.
And this time we're dedicating it to, even as soon as this season started, there's so many things that were happening, things that started to develop and change.
Yeah.
We started this podcast, in October 2023, and we started season 2. And right after we started season 2, also something traumatic happened, and we didn't even have time to address it. We didn't even have time to address what happened before it.
Mm-hmm.
We only talked about it a little bit, as in for the war that was happening with Iran, and then out of nowhere we're doing the podcast, and ceasefire comes.
Mm-hmm.
And we never had the time to give our thoughts on it.
I guess we postponed it so much every single time. I don't think the people that don't live here don't understand how things here progress, digress, or develop, evolve, escalate. It's constantly happening. There's never a moment of silence. If something isn't happening in Gaza or pauses in Gaza, if something is happening in the 48 territories, Israel proper, West Bank, Jerusalem, diaspora, with Lebanon, with Syria, with Egypt, some shit's always going down.
And I think, also to be fair, we had one opportunity to talk about it, and it was to our Patreon community. So if you are not a subscriber to our Patreon, just FYI, you could have had that conversation much earlier.
It was really nice.
We invite you to join the Patreon community, and let's get right into it. I want to hear from you, Amira, some thoughts about, we had that conversation, but I think the audience should hear our thoughts and feelings from the ceasefire. I think it's been missing. What has been your thoughts? And I think it's a point where we can even digest it even more properly than initial feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So now looking back at everything, how do you see it?
I think, first and foremost, I was holding my feelings back because I felt and I think activists do this a lot, and even people that aren't directly affected, they're living under oppression, but they're not on the extreme ends. And I have held my feelings back and said the first people that need to be speaking right now are Gazans. I need my friends in Gaza, their reaction first and foremost. Who am I to remove their anger, their frustration, their happiness, their relief? Why? Just so I can give my analysis or feelings or whatever. So I held back, as well as for hostage family members. I think that it was their time to speak, to grieve, even though we're also we're also a part of it. So the first few days I was a bit reserved in expressing myself. But the feeling of anger did not leave me. even until now.
Why are you angry?
First and foremost, that this deal isn't this like amazing new idea, this light bulb moment that happened for these leaders. It has been on the table for so long, dare I say, from the beginning.
And if somebody's listening is like, oh, I don't know, guys, you can hear also from, for instance, somebody like Eisenkot, who's was one of the high ups of the Israeli army, deputy. He was the deputy, he was the chief of staff of the army, and he stated just recently that the deal could have been made as early as January 2024, and that militarily speaking, there was nothing to do in Gaza after April 2024. And that raises the question, then what the fuck was happening a year and almost a half extra since?
And a ceasefire was suggested even from the first week.
And it's the same deal almost, yeah.
And a ceasefire has been suggested from Hamas and a deal from the first week.
Yeah, on October 15th, it was the first time that Hamas came up and said, proposed hostage exchange.
Yeah.
And the statements within Israel were that Hamas will never do a deal. Hamas is not going to bring in the hostages. Hamas is not going to do it. It's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually, gives us this question of, if there was an acceptance to do the deal, then would it have happened? Like, it's a frustrating, kind of like going back in time to try to figure out whether or not it would have happened or not, because nobody gave it a chance. Even.
How many lives would have been spared? How many lives would, first of all, looking at the environment as the environment of from the water, the air, the earth, how much destruction we would have saved, and how much people and lives we would have saved from trauma, all from across the map, not just Palestinians, from across the map.
How many hostages could have been brought back alive?
Absolutely. How many people could have mourned and processed earlier? So I just look and it's we could have saved so much. We could have saved so much. That's one reason for my frustration. The other reason for my frustration is that the people that have been funding and supporting and advocating for the continuation of this catastrophe, call it a war, call it a genocide, the continuation of people being murdered and slaughtered and being bombed to death, we're gloating. We're gloating about it in Sharm el-Sheikh. We're gloating about it in the Knesset. We're gloating about it, I don't know, everywhere. How dare you? How dare you fund the same bombs and bullets and arms and then say that you made peace? That made me so mad, and demand to be thanked and applauded. That really frustrated me. I really couldn't take it. I couldn't.
Yeah, it was very difficult to digest that. And it actually reminds me of another thing that happened also recently that we actually didn't even write, we didn't even say that we might talk about it today, but it just comes to mind. The recognition that we've seen in September for Palestinian state. That pissed me off so much, because all these countries that have recognized a Palestinian state within the borders of 67 and all these terminologies, there was nothing different in their position to their position 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Oslo, why didn't you recognize a Palestinian state? After the Second Intifada, and there was a demand from both Israelis and Palestinians for a two-state solution in 2002. It was 2/3 of both people. Why didn't you recognize a Palestinian state? At the end of the Second Lebanon War in 2006, why didn't you recognize a Palestinian state? After the death of Arafat. All this time, what the fuck have you been waiting for? What was needed to declare a Palestinian state? Why hasn't it happened? What was there's zero justification of them lingering on. And now they want, the thing that reminded me is that, please thank me for how I'm amazing and I'm supporting the Palestinian people. To me, it sounds cheap.
It is.
It sounds like, they were waiting for the opportunity to be glorified for it. We don't need your favors. We needed real help. Real help would have happened 20 years ago with recognition. Now it's a bit too late. And the settlements expansion that are done to prevent two-state solution, what have you done about it? Except for putting a statement, we condemn the Israeli government. We talked about it before. This is getting, exhausting.
I also don't see forget what type of solution we're talking about. We don't need recognition. Like one of our guests talked about it. We don't need white people to tell us that we exist.
Yeah.
We exist, we have existed, and we will continue to exist. What we want, what we need, that leaders can play a role is in the end of the occupation, the end of supremacy, and the end of oppression.
Political recognition, because we live here.
If anything, if we want to talk about recognition, I think Israel should be the first in line for that, to recognize not just the Palestinian identity, but the Nakba, and to recognize there's a long list of things to be done and to be recognized. But when it comes in the middle of a genocide, and then you go ahead and you're like, oh, we're just going to go and recognize these people to exist before they're obliterated.
Yeah.
But there's so many things. It's not just the ceasefire that has been going on. There's also a lot of internal, maybe you can talk about this more, just like how many did you say up until now, just this month, have been murdered within Palestinian citizens of Israel?
I mean, if you're talking just about the last 2 days from recording this episode, it was 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And just 2 weeks ago, we had the first ever incident of a murder case inside a school. A stabbing of a student, and he was killed inside school property. That never happened in our community before. So we're seeing things that we haven't seen in the past, but same old with the government's attitude to it, the police attitude to it, and I would even more say the media's attitude for it. Because if you really want to change, you also need media coverage. You need to stir people's feelings in order for them to demand change. That's part of the media's role. If you hear a murder case among a Jewish community, I watch the news. I know. And, they would go to the funeral. The media, they would go to the funeral. You would see on TV the parents, in the what they call hesped in Hebrew. I don't know the term in English, but when they speak about the deceased, mm-hmm. and the grandmother and the mother, and people are sobbing, and I'm, getting emotional, like, oh my God, I can't believe this person was lost. This is so so tragic, because you're getting a tragedy, and you get those emotions. But when we're killed, it's a passing statement on the news. It's not going to stir emotions. It's just a number, and they move on forward. Like, they keep going. They don't give a shit. We're not the same humans as Jewish citizens are. And that is felt. Any Israeli who comes to talk to us about, equality, and you guys are citizens, guys, you don't live in my shoes. You don't live in the reality when you're feeling less than, and you're feeling the portrayal of you being less than. When you see it on the media, you feel it. That talking about your death is not as important as talking about a Jewish death. It is what it is. The only time it was talked about in Tamra, for instance, because it served the narrative.
Of course, it's
Iranians are killing Arab citizens. We need to talk about it to the world. So nothing is changing, and it's just getting worse. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being in that place where I want to improve this country, this society, but I don't see a partner.
Talking about partners and recognition and serving narratives, very recently, for our audience to know, this episode's being recorded in the beginning of November. It will be released later on, but just for context of time-wise, there will be developments, because that's what this place is known for. But again, speaking of recognition, all of a sudden, we're referred to as Palestinians. Why? Because Mamdani, a Muslim Democratic socialist, is mayor of New York, and now all of a sudden Noah Tishby wants to invite him to Israel and tell him, come see the Palestinians that live within Israel, when that is a rhetoric that's used just as a pawn, just to show that, all of a sudden we do recognize the Palestinians, when not in regards to media, nor in regards to law or education are the Palestinian citizens of Israel recognized or referred to as Palestinians at all.
Yeah, she shouted it so proudly. I'm like, I'm glad that you're recognizing that we're Palestinians, but come on, girl. we're not recognized by the state. Like, don't use us whenever you want as Palestinians and as Arab Israelis when it's comfortable to you.
And if you don't believe it, we'll talk about social media, but if you want proof, enter our Instagram and watch the reel where we talk about Arab Israeli and the response of many
of our
audience. Lastly, I would say to refer to the occupied Palestinian territories, specifically the West Bank right now, with the settler violence, dare I say settler terrorism, that's been going on, burning cars, vandalizing villages, attacking and injuring and sometimes even murdering civilians, Palestinian civilians, a specific increase with the olive harvest. I was there last week. So again, the beginning of November, and it was horrible. One, because there's not a lot of olives on the trees, because of the way that the farmers describe it is that the earth is also crying. The earth is also grieving. And that's why there's not a lot of, there wasn't a lot of rain, and there's not a lot of olives to harvest. And the olives that are there, the settlers have first dibs. They make sure that they plant an Israeli flag and stick an Israeli flag wherever there's a water source, and water sources are usually in a strategic place, so they have control of the area, and the army isn't there to remove them, isn't there even to deter them, but there to protect them and to make sure that they're okay. And in our certain instance, we were a group of Palestinian and Israelis organized by Rabbis for Human Rights and Standing Together. And it started really well. Like, we were helping, we were learning, we were talking to the farmers and the family, us helping and them bringing us coffee and tea. And then the entire time, obviously the army came, looked at us, stayed for a little bit. And while the army that was there was a drone. So in the beginning, we thought that the drone was for the army. And then the army left, but the drone stayed. And whenever we would go closer to where they set up their flag and their outpost, the drone would come so close to us. So we would leave. And then they would come close to us again. And then we continued. We just minded our business. We thought it was for the army. And we continued to again, help the farmers. And then we were about to have kind of a break and to thank the people, to thank everybody that has been working so hard. It was a really hot day. And the drone started acting weird, moving right and left, and went so low that it cut and injured one of the rabbis with Rabbis for Human Rights.
Oh my goodness.
And then we thought that was okay, now the army is going to come to retrieve it. And then one of the farmers was like, that's not for the army, that's for the settlers. That's a settler drone.
Wow.
And then we were like, okay, this is kind of this is an accident scene, like a crime scene. We the army needs to come and see that this drone, this is what happens. This is
to physically attack people.
This is evidence. This is proof. So we were like, okay, we'll wait for the army. Imagine the mental gymnastics that you need to have to understand the situation. And then the settlers come in what looked like army uniform, but they're settlers, all armed, and they wave their weapons at us, target at us, and start shooting at the sky because they wanted the drone, and they took it in the end, while shoving and pushing us, screaming at us. And then they took it, and we were like, you got to wait for the army to come. Imagine the occupied, the Palestinians are saying, don't take the drone. The army, your army that is occupying us, needs to come and see and confiscate it and address the scene. And then they just took it, they went. The army came and had the audacity to ask us, do you have proof that the woman was hit by the drone, that you didn't do anything to the settlers? It's just super frustrating. And that's a light incident that happens in the West Bank, a very light incident. Many, there's a Palestinian old woman that was smacked in the head. You can see footage of it online, smacked on the head and bleeding just for harvesting her olives on her own land. So the situation everywhere is dire.
I saw also an Israeli man who was taken to the police, who was also doing protective presence with an injury to the head, and the whole face is bleeding, all the shirt. And it's something he's been doing for a long time, helping the Palestinian harvest. And his head is cut open. But this attitude is something that we're feeling in the air recently.
Yeah.
This change, I don't know if change, but something is stirring.
I'll just add before we move on is that all of this is happening to deter people from supporting, to deter people from coming and helping and visiting Palestine and visiting Palestinians and doing protective presence. But it shouldn't be a deterrence. The rabbi that got injured, the mother, the farmers all say that even though this happens, we're going again. We're going again. It's not always this dangerous. Sometimes it is, but the farmers need our help, and we need to go. We need to go to the villages. So I want to show you how bad it is. At the same time, I want our audience to know how urgent it is for people to come and help and support.
And maybe this would be a good time to just give, I don't know if I call it a wake-up call, maybe raising a flag, a red flag, or maybe a black flag. Since we talk about, partnerships and we need to change this reality together, then I'm raising a flag to the Israeli partners that something is happening within the Israeli society. Something is changing. Something ominous is happening. And I think we can see it from the incident of the Sde Teiman prison. When there was a case of the Palestinians who were held in the prison. One of them or a couple of them were subjugated to torture and rape. And the head of the unit in charge on these recordings and the content that what happens in the prison.
She's the chief lawyer.
The chief lawyer, she apparently leaked the information of the video of the rape and molestation, and then she disappeared. It was a whole drama story in Israel about it. But the focus within the Israeli media and society, particularly within the Israeli society, has been about the fact that she leaked the information, about the fact that she showed evidence that would ruin Israel's image in the world, that these are the things that are happening.
As if Israel's image in the world is good right now.
And, and from their perspective, it's like, oh, we're not in a good place, you're making it worse. But rather than looking at the case itself, the whole issue of how dare she leak it, rather than what actually happened. And for a society that claims and talks about having the most moral army in the world, the most moral army in the world would investigate it. And that would be the most important aspect of it, is not the leak, but the content. And they would put on a trial and it would be talked about, rather than, we wanted to hush it up, how dare you leak it? That's the language we're hearing. We wanted to hush it up, you leaked it, you screwed us over, how dare you? So you are admitting that you're hiding, that you don't want to confront these things. The guy, the person who was subjugated to the rape was part of the Palestinians who've been released from the prison, and he was sent back to Gaza. And there was a question of, why was he sent back so quickly? Are you trying to avoid another questioning with him to understand what's happening? And this is showing something problematic within the Israeli society, because we're looking at a leak as this big deal. Guys, if there's no leaks, and this is something my friend Adhabs told me, if there are no leaks in this country, then there's no journalism in this country. The journalism is based on leaks. How do we know anything that happens inside the internal government cabinet? The cabinet leaks it. The government leaks information. Like, are you shitting me? Of course there are leaks. That's the problem, or what happened? And these are ominous signs that I think the Israeli society need to examine itself or on where it's heading.
Yeah, final note on this is that we talk about it in a very statistic reporting way. It was to a point where we forget about the not repercussions or consequences. What's the word? The effects of sexual assault, rape, abuse, torture, that happens to Palestinians in Israeli prisons, and the effects of them, even when they are released. They're released to Palestinian society, to where they are oppressed again, to where they will eventually get married, and most likely, if there is news of, or rumors of this Palestinian man or woman that was raped or sexually assaulted, the first reaction, which is wrong on our part as well, is to marry them off, is to get them married. So
to hush it up.
To hush it up, because like honor and dignity is a big thing, and no one wants that. No one wants that from not any culture, and no one should wish any sort of thing on anybody to live with that. So imagine living with it and also keeping it within and hushing it up.
Not even dealing with it.
Exactly. Getting married. Also expected to have children and to live a quote unquote normal life, and to always be brought up that هذا الأسير, he's the ex what's
they call it Asir as a prisoner.
The ex prisoner, and like these are the people. This is like what happens to Palestinian society, and then people come and say, "Oh, you are like a backward society." Like, do you know how much healing that requires alone? Removing the occupation, removing everything, just that. How much healing that entire family, how much generational trauma that will give, and they will carry on more and more. It's just like, we have so much to do. We have so much to fix.
And it's also like, it's a card that's done in general in our society of like, oh, this guy is like not doing well and he doesn't have a good career, and you know, oh, let's just marry him off. Like, you know, we can't handle him. So we literally are dumping him on another woman to deal with him, really.
Another family, not just another woman.
Another family. One last point, I almost forgot about the Sdet Eman. It's important to mention that, you know, when all of this happened, Israeli politicians from the government went inside and tried to break into the prison, break into army bases, including with their supporters. No one was questioned about it. Later, everything was closed. They tried and they ruined what's it called? Like some of the equipment of the army that is worth a ton, and it's fine. And life goes on. That's morally flawed. Mm-hmm. These are the people who are representing citizens. Yeah. So what does it say?
I'll just end with saying that there's definitely going to be developments with this going forward when this episode is released. So if you didn't know about it, now you know about it. If you know about what we were talking about before, we suggest to also look into it and see what developments and what happened to it. But putting aside the horrible reality that we live in, let's talk about the episodes, the season so far. It's been interesting, a big change from season 1. How has it been for you, Ibrahim, so far?
It's been a different experience, us being the interviewees rather than us unpacking things every week or every other week.
You mean the interviewers?
Yeah, like, you know, in season 1, I mean, versus season 1, where it's just been mainly us. Mm-hmm. And even when we had guests, it was like kind of like an open conversation between all three of us.
Had long episodes.
Very long episodes. It's not like these episodes are short, but we give more time to the interviewees, and it's been really great experience in the sense of hearing other voices and hearing other identities, other expressions. It's been educational. Mm-hmm. Like, if it's been educational to the audience, it's been educational for me, that's for sure. I don't know about the audience. As far as I'm concerned, I've learned a lot. And I'm grateful for these people for coming in and sharing their experiences, their values, their reality, and trusting us to be this gateway for them to share it to the world. How about you? There's so much more. So we'll unpack it one by one.
I think it's been really interesting. It's been a big responsibility because a lot of these activists know us well. We appreciate them on a different level. In season 1, there was a lot of activists or people that we interviewed that we really didn't know that well. So it was just an interview and actually getting to know someone.
And we wanted to challenge a few of them.
Yeah.
And to be challenged.
In this season, it's like interviewing your family, and you feel like they're so precious, and you want them to own their truth, to do well, and to also be received well. So it's like all positive in general up until now. I think I'm very happy with what we're doing. I don't think we preface enough how rare it is that Palestinians that live here get to actually tell their own story for other people to listen. Or to have these conversations in between ourselves. I think it's like really, really rare, and it's an amazing opportunity to be able to do it.
Before or as soon as we started this season, I remember you wrote something on your personal social media, for those who follow you personally and for those who don't, about your feelings about season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the, I don't want to use the wrong terms that you've used in terms of, was it regret? Or
No.
was it more, you wanted to give more justice in this season? Do you want to talk about that? Like
Sure.
What was tough for you in season 1? And what did you try to, I don't know if the word is fix, but
I think I used the word redeem. I think I used the
yourself.
word redeem.
Yes, you said redeem myself.
To myself. I want to make that very clear. Like, it's not in front of anybody, but to myself. Doing season 1, I think, no regrets. I don't regret it. I don't think I would do season 2 if I didn't do season 1. So no regrets. I know this kind of feels like this is like the final episode, but it's not. This is just like the middle way. It was more of how we were talking about things. I think I was in learning mode mostly. And when you're in learning mode and you're trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do right now, you make a lot of mistakes. You speak about things in a way that might be passive, that might not be urgent enough, that might be too apologetic, especially, which isn't a bad thing, but if you're claiming to be unapologetic, then it is something that I would want to redeem. I think in the first season, we talked a lot in the sense of like both sides-ism. It was like this and that, this and that, this and that. And it's dehumanizing. I don't think that we're always supposed to talk about Palestinians in the context of Israelis and in the context of oppression, in the context of occupation. It's not fair, because we are not just a byproduct of our oppression. We're our own people. We have our story. We have a voice, and we have the right to voice that truth. So I guess that was mostly it. I don't regret interviewing anyone. I do regret not being harsher, maybe, or maybe not harsher is the right word, not being more. It's difficult. And
it's about your.
Yeah, like, I guess the pressure of representing is a big burden on like my shoulders, because there's so much layers to the Palestinian identity and to Palestinian reality and experience that I felt like I needed to bring, that I still feel like I need to bring. Right now, because we're interviewing other Palestinians, I feel like I can sit down and relax a little bit. But before, we interviewed majority Jews, majority Israelis, and I felt like I needed to be the Jerusalemite, the West Banker, and the Gazan, and the diaspora at the same time, and you bring the 48 Palestinian. That's how I felt, and it stressed me out a lot. And it was, it still does. Like when we interviewed like some of the Israelis on this season, I felt like I need to be, because that voice isn't in the room. So I need to bring it. Someone needs to bring it. Even if I wouldn't necessarily in a passing conversation bring it up myself, but I felt like, no, like someone needs to say this. Someone needs to like pin. If Gaza isn't mentioned, it's like my and your responsibility to bring it up. If the occupation isn't mentioned, it's our responsibility to bring it up. Because this is our like podcast. Like we need to bring it up. Not necessarily to interrupt and to like bash somebody, but to say that, yo, this exists. Like we can't talk about it in a void. And I don't want to seem like I'm being hypocritical that Israelis need to always bring up Palestinians when they speak. But because this is, again, our podcast in the context that we're talking about, in the context of season 2, I have the responsibility to bring it up. But I think it was a big learning experience for me, season 1, the diverse voices that we brought and listened to. I think if, like you said, if the word was regret, I feel like we would be talking about removing them rather than keeping them there. Like whether it was about, even though I don't agree with them at all, maybe whether it's from like the Ethiopian community story, like episode that we had, or the about the settlements and the settlers. If I would have that conversation, I would have it in a completely different way now, but and would be more like hard line, that like to make it clear to the listener that engagement is not endorsement, that settlements are an obstacle to peace, and we need to make that happen. But it was also, we were demonstrating a way of dialogue and a way of having conversation. And I feel like season 2 is also proof that it didn't take away from who I am. I still have it there, and I have who I am right now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
I talked a lot.
No, that's perfect. And as your partner on the podcast, it's been truly kind of like a blessing, and it's like been an honor to watch your development, because sometimes people might not pick it up that you're much younger, like, and in general that you're young. At those times, in this time of your life, at the age of 25, 24, 25, 26.
We started, I was 24, just turned 24.
Yeah, 24, 25, 26. Those were also the years when I evolved my identity, to its fullest. Where, going through experiences, college, the first jobs, this and that, and you're assembling your reality and your upbringing, and you're putting everything together with everything that I've learned, with university, was much more exposure about Palestinian history and everything that I wanted to delve in more, because I was prevented from that in my own reality in the Israeli education. We don't learn about any of this. So I need to personally do it. And my family, we talk about it, didn't teach me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to put all of these things, the reality I grew up with, the things that I'm learning more and more now, the people from the West Bank was living with in the dorms in the university, and we would have in-depth conversations about our life. And all this, I had my own time to sit together with my own thoughts and shape my perception on my identity, the world, and how I see this future as Ibrahim.
No one asked you for a statement.
No one asked me to, in front of a camera, to do it. You've been doing it on camera for 2 years. And one time I told you I felt like it's doing you a bit injustice, in the sense of I had that without camera. You're being put on camera. It wasn't the question of, Amira, are you ready to do this? It was more like, Amira, let's do it. And and we just did it. And but to each his own journey. And I'm glad to be part of that journey of yours.
Thank
because
you.
We see this evolvement. And I think that some of the audience doesn't give that credit, doesn't understand what it's like to evolve as a human being, to learn more while you go along. I know a lot of things I've also learned, and I'm not as rigid about some views that I had before, where I was very much, I've spent so much time to put this perception together. Don't make me question my own the way of looking at it. But it wasn't in the terms of shaking my own perception. It's more in the sense of widening my perception. It wasn't like I didn't see the things that I've been learning as challenging my perception, but rather grow it and evolve it and improve it and make it even more refined. And my recently, I didn't tell. Did I tell you? My partner recently listened to our first season.
Yeah.
For the first time. We listened to it for the first time on Spotify. She didn't hear it before. She said, you sound the exact same thing as episode 1 in season 1. For me, it was a point of pride, in a sense of, I did come into this knowing exactly what I want out of this reality. Like, this is how I think. I've come to a clear understanding of my own identity. Where do I fit in this whole mayhem? And that's how I see forward. And it hasn't been changed in the way of shaking up my views and my reality. It definitely widened, and you can see it through the episodes. but not change, which I was very proud of in a way.
Even though change is fine. I think change is something.
Change is fine. But I felt when we entered the podcast that I was very secure about my perception. And I'm glad to see, looking back at it 2 years later, that I really was in that place, and it wasn't an undermined place, not knowing, So it was a good thing in that sense.
No, development, growing, widening, expanding. I think it's like part of the human experience, whether it's talking about this or it's talking about anything else, like family or social stuff. And I think it's like, I think what I know, like you said, that there's not a lot of understanding from our audience, or doesn't consider that. I think like what we need, like I don't expect anybody to understand that, or to be actually looking like, did Ibrahim change from season 1 to season 2, or did he not? Did he apologize? Did he make a statement? I think what we need is more like compassion and more understanding and more like, and this is something for myself as well. Like, we don't want to be an exclusive thing. We want to be as inclusive as possible, and to the future that we want to build, we want to build together. I don't want to build it by myself. I'm sure I don't even want to build it just with us three as UTTN, like with Evelyn. I want like everybody to build it. And I assume all the organizations and all movements and all people, like we have a saying in Arabic, الجنة من غير ناس ما بتنداس. The heaven without people, wouldn't want to enter that kind of heaven. Like, you don't want to be alone. So I think like that's the direction that we need to continue going through. And remember that we're human. We make mistakes. We evolve. We learn. Sometimes we go back on things, and sometimes we don't. But there are certain things that, not just like the guests that have changed in this episode, in this season. We've also used new terminology, and some terminology that we used in season 1 more often. Some of this new terminology is let's throw like a few words. One is or 2 words, because I feel like they're linked together, which is co-resistance and collective liberation. Let's talk about collective liberation for a second. So I guess for me, when I say collective liberation, I know it's like some of the words are like intimidating to some people, because liberation, what does that mean? If you want to liberate, you want to like put something down, but it's not necessarily the case. We do want to like deteriorate the system that like is existing right now, not just in Palestine, Israel, but around the world, that oppresses people that we don't know. Like when I talk about collective liberation, it doesn't end by Palestinians are free. Like, Palestinians are free, Israelis are free, Sudanese people are free, the people in Congo are free. And it goes in depth even more. The women are free, the men are free, the children are free, the people with different sexual orientation, sexual attraction, all of them are free, all races. Like, it's the mothers. It goes like to a superficial way, and also in a very depth way, to see that what it basically means is nobody is free until all of us are free. That's what it basically means. And it also helps, instead of saying, oh, I believe in this solution, or I believe in that solution. It's like, no, I believe that I will speak up for anybody that is being oppressed and anybody that needs liberation. Does it mean anything like more to you, or something different?
Perfect way of putting it together. Maybe to to my own devil's advocate that's sitting right in the back of my mind, who's going to tell me what's our Israeli audience going to say about it in terms of I'm free. Just a little thing that I like heard on a conversation on the radio a couple of days ago between 2 hosts. Something that had to do with the army and something like that. And he was talking about his kid. And jokingly, the hostess was telling him, oh, like he's at the age of, I think that he said his kid is at the age of 4 or 5. And she jokingly was talking about how it's a great time right now to like start militarizing him.
Yeah.
Like, to getting him excited about the army. Guys, it's not a pleasant experience.
It's fucked up.
like, I think this is where, when you live within something, you don't understand how fucked up it is. That you are talking in a very positive, happy, great way that your son is going to be in the army holding a weapon, either kill or be killed. And you need to raise him up to that in a positive way. And it's a great thing at the age of 4, 5. Like, how messed up is that? That this is how you perceive it.
And the response to that is like, oh, all nations have armies. How are they going to be safe?
Majority of democracies don't have conscription.
And those who do, it's also messed up.
And exactly, those who do, it's not like it's a great thing that needs to be modeled, but not to grasp that you talking about militarizing your son
at the age of 4.
At the age of 4 or 5 is a wrong thing. We'll put ourselves in the realist mindset. He's gonna go to the army at Sababa. But you raise him up to learn about all these things at a later age. He's 5. You're erasing his innocence at such a young age that he needs to know that there's a day that will come where he will hold the weapon. This is not just something on TV that he sees cartoons holding weapons.
And it's worth it that they go. And if they die, if he or she dies, it's worth it. It is worth it. That's the mentality that you need to go.
Yeah, so free is when you're actually free. And sometimes we don't understand when we are holding ourselves own freedom, at bay. When we are preventing, ourselves from living a normal childhood, a childhood that doesn't have militarization in it. That's part of being not free.
It's also like free from racism, sexism, poverty. Like how many people, regardless of the color of their skin or where they come from, are like might have the quote unquote freedom where they can travel, they can leave, they can like go. They have like there's no like their passport doesn't limit them, but their paycheck does. And nobody is like fighting for like them to get like equal opportunity to go to jobs. And like it also includes whether it's like fighting for like in the sense of like how, I don't know, like if you're saying about Israelis, it's also like the equality and freedom between Ashkenazim and Mizrahim, Ethiopian Jews, Yemenite Jews, like all these layers that like,
in the Palestinian society, the rural villages versus the towns of Bethlehem and Ramat, you don't live the same reality even within the West Bank. It's even in Gaza.
The
locals of Gaza versus the refugees are completely different reality. If we didn't have somebody from the city of Gaza who is an original Gazan could potentially have some means to get out and find a job and go work in Europe and send money to his family. Someone who's from the refugees has no ability like that. Even with siege, without siege, he's stuck and he doesn't even have the ability to change his socioeconomic status.
Yeah. All minorities change, like Christians within a Muslim majority, or Muslims and Christians within a Jewish majority, Muslims within a Christian majority, like all of these things, all of them face, and like mishmash, like to place it wherever you want. All of us deserve liberty. All of us deserve liberation. And I think even the most people that think that they are free, they are not.
One thing I want to add on to like what's been happening with this season. Today I'm keep hitting the mic. I don't know what's happening. It's something that you've mentioned earlier about the feeling of the need to represent everyone. I'm very much feeling it this season, particularly when we look at the feedback that we're getting. And some of the responses that we're getting, and it's frustrating, and I understand where you come from, because I'm getting that feeling when we have a conversation, for instance, with one of our Palestinian activists, and I come from the reality of being a Palestinian who also lives in Israel and in the Israeli reality and society, and I'm very, I live fluidly within the Israeli society without discomfort, at the same time holding my identity in a very comfortable place to me. It feels like some of our Jewish and Israeli audience feel that I need to represent them when we're having a conversation between all three of us when we're Palestinian. And I refused to do that. Like, I didn't want to hold it, and I didn't. And people are frustrated at me for it. But when I am holding a Palestinian conversation, I want to hold a Palestinian conversation. I want to have this part of me have this conversation about our reality as Palestinians. It's in the same way when I'm having a conversation with an Israeli activist. I want to talk to him about the Israeli reality and Israeli development and involvement, because this is what we're talking about, and I can bring that side of me that can have this conversation. I don't want to be the token face of one or the two identities where it fits so somebody can feel represented. I'm here to bring myself into the conversation, not to be the representative of all, the baggage of identity that I hold with me. And that has been hard. Being judged but you should know, let me have my own conversation as a Palestinian to a Palestinian guest. Why do I need to give the Israeli perspective in this podcast? It's our podcast, and we want to have these kind of conversations. We've had conversations bringing some of the Israeli reality into it. Right now, I don't want to. I want to talk from the from the Palestinian in me right now to my Palestinian counterparts.
And we're still the same people. Like, you're still the same Ibrahim.
Exactly. It doesn't change my views, my perception, my reality, and any of that. It's just I'm bringing part of me right now to this conversation, just like I'm going to do that with an Israeli guest.
Yeah, it's very dehumanizing. I want to, I don't know, I'm just sorry we have to go through this, that we have to represent, or we can't be ourselves because there's so much pressure. But yeah,
and I'm sorry
I get
that you had also now, and also in season 1, having to feel that you need to not just represent what Amira thinks, but also to bring others into it, because that's a responsibility. And it's been tokenizing.
It's okay. We give each other grace. It's a good thing that you bring that up. The second, going back to terms, the other term which is a big conversation, is co-resistance, which the same thing as collective liberation. Liberation scares people away. Co-resistance, when people hear the word resistance, they're like, hold up, what are we talking about? So I think it's really important to talk about what are we resisting. And I think it's very clear that we're resisting any kind of supremacy, any kind of oppression, any kind of occupation, any kind of racism, wherever it may lie. And we're doing that. The is that we're doing it together. In this context, it means Palestinians and Israelis. But it means that if you tie it back to collective liberation, it means that every single person has a role to play in this co-resistance. Why did we start to use it instead of, coexistence? First, I'd like to say is that coexistence, we're there. We exist at the same time. That's not what we want. That's not what we want at all. We want co-resistance. We want that because we coexist at the same time, and somebody exists on a higher pedestal and has more humanity, has more power, has more XYZ, we need to fight together and co-resist together against those things that make us unequal and put us on on different steps in this world, in order to get to a place where we all thrive. Now, two things. In one of the episodes, in Yara's episode, I said that equality to the oppressor or equality to the privilege will feel like oppression. And a lot of people were triggered by that. Accepted.
Especially
I get it.
The sentence of the oppressor needs to come down.
Yes. So I want
to explain that to the audience.
Instead of explaining it, because I felt like it was pretty self-explanatory. Apparently it was not. So I'll give examples, because I'm not taking back what I said. I still believe it is true. But I feel like a lot of people just took offense to it. And it is probably something that I'm not, a lot of Jewish people were like, oh, you always want Jewish people to be oppressed. You want your reality and your liberation always relies on Jews to take a step down. In Hebrew, I will say, mamash lo. But I'll give examples because, again, I still stand by my statement. I think that in the reality where, same thing we were talking about at this episode, the recognition of the Palestinian identity and the recognition of the Nakba as the Palestinian catastrophe. If Israel recognizes that, and then Israelis recognize that, they're going to feel like their quote unquote narrative is being breached. Said that no, the Nakba didn't happen, it was a war, the Arabs lost, yada, yada, yada. In order to get to a point where we are all free and there is restorative justice, then it needs to be like crimes and atrocities need to be recognized. So in this case, the privileged, which is the more powerful, that's how I'm seeing it, will have to recognize what they have done. That will feel like oppression. That will not feel. If you have another word for oppression, I'd love your help on that. But it's not going to feel good. It's going to feel like sacrifice. It's going to be change. If another big example is settlements. Whatever solution we have, settlements are going to be addressed. And sometimes, in some cases, some settlements are going to have to be removed maybe. So settlers with their family that might have been born there, that know that to be home, their home, that they made their home on other people's land, they still see it their home, are going to feel like they're being displaced. That's going to feel like oppression, literally. That's going to feel like sacrifice. How did the Israelis feel when they evacuated in Gaza? Did they feel nice? No. Recognizing Jerusalem as a shared capital, if that's the solution that we get to, or splitting it in half. The parade that happens every year, unifying Jerusalem, the unified Jerusalem, where
they come and vandalize and terrorize the old city.
But even those who don't, those Israelis that see Jerusalem united and the capital of their Jewish state, they're not going to like splitting it or sharing it. So it's going to feel like sacrifice, and to some, it's going to feel like oppression. To, what else is there? Refugees, the right of return. Regardless of what you think about it, in a solution, in a just solution, it needs to be addressed. I'm not saying what it needs to happen, but it needs to be addressed. And if the solution, whatever it may be, means compensation, or it means, I don't know, like a percentage comes back to Palestine, or some become Israeli citizens, or whatever, that people are not going to like that, because the ratio between Jewish citizens and Palestinian and non-Jewish citizens in this state is going to change. The amount of Palestinians in the West Bank is going to change. People are not going to like that. It's going to feel like sacrifice, and sacrifice sometimes feels like you're oppressed.
Going back to the term that you mentioned, actually, which was coexistence, to me, this is the status quo. Like, sometimes people use the term coexistence as this beautiful thing, and I completely disagree. Actually, there was a research that a friend of mine, maybe she's listening to the podcast right now, Claire, she's been doing her PhD about coexistence versus shared living in Haifa. And I think that's when the term was a question to me, because I was in her dissertation and we had a question about coexistence, and her professor asked me, so what's Haifa? Is it coexistence or shared living? What term fits? And since I've sat down with it, and I feel that our reality is that of coexistence, because effectively we both exist. Even when you talk about in the spectrum of Israelis and Palestinians, we coexist. We exist on the land. And even within Israel, between Palestinian Israelis and Jewish Israelis, we coexist within the reality of Israeli reality. But we don't live together. We live sometimes in completely parallel realities, even in cities like Haifa, that has a potential to have a shared living where we live actually together rather than living parallel to each other within the same space. It's just like, when we dumb it down, the difference between two neighbors who live next to each other with almost no interactions, to two roommates who share the same space, the same apartment, and pay the rent together and split the chores, and they actually live together and see themselves as partners in this reality. And this is where I think is the next step. We coexist, but the next step is to see each other as partners to this reality, to share responsibility to this reality, and to hold space for each other's identity. And that's when it goes back to the issues that we need to solve, like recognition. In order to have this space as really one together, we need to accept each other for who we actually are and not what we want the other to be. Just like the term Arab-Israeli. It's just what you want me to be rather than who I am. And I think these are the steps that we need to move forward. At this point, we'll also thank our audience for doing that. Is they continue to listen to us. Even our haters are sitting down and listening to us and listening to our conversations. And if you're only listening to us on your reels, then we invite you to listen to the actual episodes, because, today's world is a world of 30 seconds, reels. It used to be a minute and a half. Now we're shrinking to 30 seconds, but that's not enough. So we invite you, if you see our content on your reel in this 30 seconds, come listen to our episodes and hear everything that we're talking about, because there's so much into it.
I'll add, I just want to talk about the concept of normalization, because it's a big reason why many people have changed their language, that don't use the word coexistence as much, that don't, even shared living, don't use the word shared living, and want to use collective liberation and want to use co-resistance. Because we know that there are certain people that work against both people's interests that don't use these words. So we make sure that we are clear that we refuse to normalize occupation, that we refuse to normalize oppression or attacks, or we refuse to normalize anything but a fruitful, dignified life for everybody that lives here. And I think that's the big reason why people have changed the way that they speak. I would say personally, it's a big reason why I changed the way that I speak, because we want to make clear that we want to live together. We will fight to live together, but we're not normalizing anything. And the people that do normalize are not the same as the people that are co-resisting and fighting for collective liberation.
Yeah, and I think it's important to put that perspective that normalization should not be Muslims and Jews are talking, or Palestinians and Israelis are talking, or Arabs and Jews are talking, because we together need to change this reality. What is the derogatory term for normalization should only be looked at as normalizing oppression, normalizing occupation, normalizing injustices. These are the things that we cannot normalize, and not conversations with people who might want to be our partner in changing this reality. But it's part of this new world where everything is in one package, when it's either you're with me or against me.
The only pushback that I have for what you're saying is that a lot of it's not like the dialogue happens. The problem is that the dialogue just happens, and the people that take part in the dialogue are tokenized. They're used as tools, and it doesn't reach to a point of organizing and changing and demanding change. So I would say that dialogue without action, or dialogue without the intention of acting, is normalization. If I just sit in a room with Israelis and it's like, oh, I'm letting them hear my opinion. If I don't tell them that I'm acting and I want them to act with me, and they refuse to act with me, then what yes, there's the concept of that the next person with me will talk, but if I continue to go and they make it clear that we just want you to be the Palestinian in the room, that is normalization.
Taking photos, and here Israelis and Palestinians can sit together in the room and can talk together. It's like, guys, we're not monsters. We know we're able to sit down in the same damn room and talk.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
on this note, don't judge. Come with an open heart, with an open ears, heart, mind to conversations. We're quick to judge. We're quick to drop somebody in the normalization box if they say something we don't like, or with the anti-Israeli box, or whatever box we want to throw someone who said one thing that we disagree with. society can't function in a way where we only look for somebody who agrees with me 100%, because that sounds like identical. And that doesn't help us grow and evolve by learning from others who sometimes are very different from us.
And I'll just reiterate the thank you. Thank you for everyone who's listening to this episode that continued, specifically to those that continued from season 1 up until now, and those that find it difficult. Those that find it easy, obviously, thank you, please stay. But those that find it difficult, I think I appreciate people that listen to me that don't really agree with me. The people that continue to say, oh, what are Amira and Ibrahim up to? Who are they interviewing today? And even those that send us very long emails, tell us what they love about the podcast and also tell us what they hate about the podcast. So I appreciate every single person that listens to what we have to say and what our guests have to say. I know that we said today's episode is going to be different, but something doesn't change, which is our call to action in every single episode on this season.
So Amira, today in this episode, how can we help?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We're very excited to announce a project that has been long in the making called Human Eyes.
We teamed up with Hiram, a Toronto-based artist who, through his art, helped us bring to life stories of humanity from the river to the sea.
In an age where dehumanization dominates headlines, this project brings us back to what's real: the people. It's a collection of one hand-painted, upcycled jackets, each with a unique story.
The featured human eyes portrayed on the jackets are Izzuddin Abu Aish, Vivian Silver, Mahmoud Darwish, and Reem Banna.
100% of the proceeds will be donated to a Gazan family and Clean Shelter.
Clean Shelter is a nonprofit organization providing sanitary needs and shelter solutions in Gaza. If you want to be part of the change helping people on the ground, visit the link in the description so you can also humanize.
So we want to thank you again for tuning into this episode, for tuning into this season and to this podcast in general. Please continue following us on all social media platforms. Join our Patreon if you want to support. And as always, we'll see you on another episode of UTTN, the podcast.